Good evening, everyone. System Jock here with the 41st episode of the Priest DLC Legacy from Cultist Simulator, playing as Harold Davidson. So we've got our third lock scar. We've got the lantern lock scar in a service which will leave the deacon taking care of the Sunday services for the next little while. We do have the option of trying to pursue even higher levels if we were to level up the Thackic Invocation, which is the most... the Thackic Invocation or the Colonel's Names. Those are the two most direct ways for me to get a level 10 lore. But it is important to remember that we are currently studying some work. So the Morphe Codex is most likely going to give us a Secret Histories, but we do have an Edge and a Forge text to read, aside from whatever we find in Voivod Citadel. So in this particular case here, we might not necessarily need to level up some of our lore, and we can use our study verb more effectively through other means. So we're going to kind of put the pin on that for a little while. Now, if I get lucky, if we can get 53 seconds to pass by without the expedition finishing, we can avoid the Season of Suspicion and the need to destroy some evidence. I'm not sure, I'll be honest with you, I'm not 100% sure whether or not that's going to turn out that way. We also have the possibility that the Charm and the Season of Suspicion will fight for the notoriety. I don't know which one takes priority. So again, we might be in a bit of a safer position. The question is, what do we want to do with our time right now? And I think in this particular case, I do have all of my passion available. I've got one staleness. So let's take the time to do another painting. If we're lucky, we will wind up with some money from it. And if we're unlucky, you know, at the very least, we wind up with another, excuse me. At the very least, we wind up with another, with one reduction in terms of our staleness. We'll do a portrait of Dorothy. This is just so there's the small chance we wind up with a vitality. Now, we may want to start thinking about some ways that we can try and improve our health. We currently only have 2 health. In theory, there's one that we might be able to... there's a way that we might be able to restore some of that health. But again, it does sort of invite the question, even if we were to get another health on the table, you know, that would only give us 6 lock scars. So we'll have a little bit of thinking to do along those lines. But for now, we've got some expeditions to run along with, and at this point, I don't see any value in weakening myself any further. So the Thunderskin entered the Mansus through the Peacock Door, a privilege never given to the witch and sister. But then their merit was much less. The writer admits that entry through the Peacock Door is unseemly, but insists that under the circumstances, there was no other way. So, yet another forbidden epic. Let's translate the Book of True Blood. Now, this has... I always figure it's the Edge and Lantern ones that always kind of carry with it the risk of some secondary effects like dread and fascination, so it's something I want to be on guard for. But in this case, let's at least get the translation done. This is a Latin work, so not too difficult for my character and impossible for me. Work by Cassius the Tommen. Lock the study door. The work begins. The empty tomb. Here is the Voivode's mausoleum. Swagged cobwebs hang like soft gray drapes. A gray sandstone sarcophagus stands upright at the far end. It is empty. So, for some reason, I wasn't paying attention, and we did wind up with a Season of Visions. That's a real bummer for me, because I think at some point I had an option of getting rid of that fascination. But I won't kick up too much of a fuss about it, because we do have a restlessness that's going to be emerging, and where normally I would paint it away, in this particular case, maybe I just want to let the restlessness decay into dread, and we can carry on. So I'm not too worried about that consequence. Not going to pay for the paints. In this case, this is purely about getting rid of the staleness. And then if I need to make some money, we'll probably do some more. We'll probably do some more sermons. Earnest speeches, affable conversation. The standards of daylight society cannot apply to us, but perhaps we won't emphasize that point. Perhaps we'll rely on charm and good humor. I've supplied elegant platitudes about the high principles of our organization. So we got the answer. No, the expedition would not last another minute, and no, the charm would not outdo the detective. So we're probably gonna have to send the raw prophet off. Now, we do have an urgency of appetite, level 6 influence, Grail influence. It is difficult to control oneself. A 6th order influence, significant resonances, or correspondences. This can be used in some rites to summon minions. Someone has left a little heap of treasures before the sarcophagus, like an offering. There are no footprints in the dust. Whoever left them came here long ago, or else has no need to touch the ground when they pass. So thank you, Raw Prophet. Thank you, Neville. Thank you, Azim. Thank you, Percussagant 1 and 2. And we've got the Book of Thrones. We've got the Gospel of Zacchaeus. We've got the Wakeful Tympanum, which is a heart artifact. I believe the Sister in Witch is equivalent. We've got the 26 Enticements, the 7 Torments. And we have a Catalogue of Uncharted Pleasures. All of these are works that I can translate for myself. Thinking of the order, let's say Book of Thrones at the end. Yeah, this works for me. Again, this will all require translation and such, but no need to go, no need to be too particular about it. Okay, so we've got Tower Revik. The blasted stump of the building, the air festers. Whatever power destroyed this place still clings. Only one floor remains above ground, and we suspect more space below. So we'll move on to Tower Revik. The question is, which of the summons do I want to bring along? Like, am I willing to get rid of the Percussagant at this point? I think we'll bring along Azim and the Percussagant for starters. No need to drag along the Percussagant unnecessarily. We'll toss a couple of funds into the tower. We'll have to search assiduously to find whatever treasures might remain, and if the tower was truly destroyed in a battle between adepts, dangerous influences may still cling to it. Now, the argument for bringing another Percussagant is very often curses will be sort of negated by heart, but in this case I have other ways of getting heart, so I'm not going to worry too much about that. And I can't remember what kind. I think it's erudition from the Painted River, but in this case, let's just grab the Trembling Heat as a precaution. I don't want to run the risk of a fascination, and I don't see a lot of value in getting the winter, because that'll just mean I have a dread to deal with at a time that might be inconvenient. Gearby was weeping again. I scooped up his molten tears in my cupped palm. In the dream, my skin peeled and blistered, but only in the dream. Okay. Dream-wise, is there anything that I want to try and do? Well, I seem to have an expectation that there would be a restlessness that would... Oh, right, yeah, that's coming up. Let's... I don't feel 100% about it, but I will use my health to go through the White Door, see maybe if we can hasten that restlessness. Or actually I can't, because in 60 seconds... Yeah, whatever. I've already made the choice. Now I can approach the White Door through the bounds. Now I can press my fingers to it, feel its chill, watch it swing open. As it opens, my mouth closes, tightens, heals over like a lost deformity. Around and about me is the cobalt light of the Mansus. Created something both distinctive and beautiful. It will very likely enhance my reputation. So, as expected, we did wind up with a... or not expected, but as hoped for, we did wind up with a heart. It's always a possibility. Now, unfortunately, we also got a fascination for our trouble, and that's really inconvenient because I don't have a direct way of handling that. So just as well I'm getting another restlessness, but I need to be very, very careful about how I behave for the next few turns. There are some options available to me, but I really don't want to take them. So let's start with a sermon, and in this case we'll do Centipede Testament with a passion. Improvise a sermon on a secret doctrine. I will speak to their souls, and if I speak with conviction, their souls may answer me. No one understands us, or else they understand us too well. So, in anticipation, we'll talk to the Raw Prophet, the Raw Prophet. We'll bring the Percussagant in just for the sake of having it. I've prepared the text for study. So, the worry, of course, right now is that we wind up with that we wind up with fascination instead of dread. So if there is going to be something that comes out of an edge text, it's very likely not going to be fascination. It's going to be dread. So Cassius the Tomman reveals the deeds of the unnumbered legion, the secret army that protected Rome against the shadowless empire. The legion's legate answered directly to the hour called the Tribune of Scars and was promised immortality if he died in battle. Alright, the expedition continues. Our expedition plans for the next challenge. It'll consume funds. I could add funds now, or I could send another follower. So we've got a hidden door coming up. In this case, we're going to need the lantern or knock. And then we've got the creeping breath curse, heart or grail. So in this case, Azim is already enough to handle that. So in this case, we'll add Neville and call it a day. Okay, so again, scary moment. And Season of Suspicion, so that's good news for us in the sense that any dread that we generate through things like letting restlessness decay is actually going to be able to, it is actually something that we're going to be able to deal with. Now, this was unexpected. I was kind of hoping that, well, I was kind of hoping for the evidence so that the Raw Prophet could deal with it. What we actually want to do now is have Clovette come in and deal with the evidence, so that's a bit inconvenient just because the Season of Suspicion is coming up so quickly, but let's see how we can handle it. Hunger glows in my brain. Hunger for the knowledge of the invisible arts might bring. A watchman who is the door in the eye waits in my dreams. If I learn the lantern lore and I dream of this temptation, I could advance my purpose. The need gnaws at me. Alright, so this is going to be the first one to tranquilize tranquilize one fascination. That's going to bring us back to tier 1. Nope, there's the second restlessness. So the combination of these two expiring will bring me out of the Season of Visions. However, we do run the risk of a Season of Despair coming up, at which point we need to paint away one of the restlessness. Some dead are lost in the wood, some rise higher, but many, so many, pass the white door into the house and become silent forever. Last night they thronged the entrance. Our mouths were healed wounds. Their eyes roamed my skin. Their hands sought my warmth, but my touch burnt, and they drew back. The urgency infected me. Okay, now let's think a little bit about what I want to try and do. I'm a little curious here. I don't think adding a Mystique's really going to do anything, but I was curious. I suppose we can add the Percussagant to the expedition now. So I think I can afford to go through the stag door. I don't think there's... Well, there is the danger of the fascination, but I kind of know where those landmines are hidden, so... The stag door is the Adept's Gate. To pass it is to be initiated into the first true mystery of the House of the Sun. The head Gearby weeps to see me enter where it cannot, but it must let me pass. The scarred valves of the door grind open. The glory demands truth. When we are clad in lies, then it shall burn them from us. The deeper the lore, the greater the chance of exaltation, which is exactly what's happened here. So we're just going to do the same thing again. We will use Centipede Testament. Oh, I don't have the Passion, though. So we can wait the 5 seconds. The congregation is already in a state of excitement. Any secret knowledge will almost certainly drive them to exaltation. So of course, very little of this has anything to do with getting more lock scars, but at the moment we're dealing with something a little more pressing. Nothing. My words cease like sand in a glass. So we do want to keep the Raw Prophet around. I think I'm going to add them to the expedition, though, because it's going to take us a while before we need to get rid of the evidence. What I am going to do, though, is have a conversation with Clovette and see if maybe we can get away with charming. Not everyone is sympathetic to our aims, but if we have problems with our reputation, our disciple can probably smooth them over. This, of course, means we're sacrificing the Percussagant, but I can live with that. All right, so as predicted, there was the danger of dread, and we wound up... we wound up triggering it, so... In the final part, Cassius confesses to being a former legate. He recounts his terror of the Tribune and divulges the secret lore of the Golden General, the champion of the Shadowless Empire, the enemy of the Tribune, in the hope that the Tribune will someday be undone. And here we have the Lionsmith's names. The Lionsmith is young by the standards of the hours, but old by the standards of war. His names are recent recruits, and their recitation has a savage power. All right. So this is level 10 edge, which means we may actually be able to put some... we may be able to put some of this to work, but of course we are running a number of risks if we want to try and get another Luxcar so quickly. I'm not opposed to it. But let's see how the next couple of turns work out. Yeah, I think the restlessness is going to go away too quickly. My congregation has donated generously, and they haven't limited those donations to the collection plate. Actually, we know, yeah, actually, I have one too many dread now, because this restlessness is going to go away in a few seconds. Okay, no business, well, I mean, I guess I can still try and get rid of the reputation, but... In my sleep, I ran my fingers along the ridged edges of the stag door's scars. Our company it was that shattered it, Gearby says suddenly. Before the gods who were flesh, the mantis was forbidden to mortals. We were the first no. He begins again to weep his molten tears. I wish that we had not. I wish that I had died in the world. I've forgotten what else he said, but I remember the shape of the fissures in the stag door, and for all of today, doors will fear my touch. So let's do what we did before. I actually want to try and generate some restlessness again. Perhaps it's not the most advisable move, but I'm going for it. And so with that in mind, we use our health to enter the white door. In the meantime, we can also try and get some more text threads. So in this case, the Vincent Inscriptions. Everett Vincent transcribed these Frisian inscriptions from a cliff in Anatolia, where he famously survived a lightning strike. He died 7 years later to the day. His bones, the legend has it, were hot to the touch. I don't believe this gives me the higher level forge lore that I'm looking for, but my recall on this hasn't always been perfect, so lock the study door, the work begins. And sometimes my words and those I have borrowed move my congregation beyond mere concentration to exaltation. At last their fervor is spent. What have they made of this night? Okay, there is a side of me that wants to do a painting that's not about... Well, okay, here's what we can do. I don't think I get contentment from esoteric art. I can do like a quasi-reputation painting, I suppose. And let's do a painting of Sylvia in order to try and provoke another restlessness. Something to remember them by, perhaps. So what I'm trying to do right now is generate a contentment to get rid of that dread. If a hunter has found notoriety, they will try to use it to create or upgrade evidence. If they're meticulous, they'll always succeed. If they're erratic, they're more likely to fail, but can occasionally create evidence even without notoriety. Alright, the Red Grail's vigor will almost certainly serve us from the curse. Of course, the almost is key there. And the congregation has donated generously, and they haven't limited those donations to the collection plate. So, Season of Dread is coming up, so it's a pretty high priority that we get rid of this dread here. Well, I can pay for the paint, so I'm not too hopeful about it. And, surprisingly, the worried detective blew it again, so I'm safe for now. My adversary has not enough evidence to bring a case against me, and they found no new clues. Optimism is the spice which saves. So, we wound up in a pretty good spot as far as our reputation's concerned. Maybe not so good for paintings, but that's a separate consideration. That's a separate conversation. The world goes away. The curse shrivels. Our power is stronger than the power that was here. The curse won't touch us. We can try the Orchard of Lights. Okay, so we'll have to deal with the intensity of radiance. Light dews the skin and suffuses the air. 6th-order influence, significant resonances, or correspondences. This can be used in some rites to summon minions. The invisible arts, Christopher Lopoli is said to have remarked, are as profitable as macrame, as ethical as tobacco smuggling, and in general as beneficial as roulette. Still, there's always the Orchard of Lights, and indeed the orchard, with its glowing fruit and peaceful its peaceful mists, is a place to be yearned for. Last night I walked in the peaceful hours of the deep night. Even after waking, I still carry with me a little of the glory of the old sun. So if I can get rid of the intensity of radiance, so much the better. But that'll be a little inconvenient. Okay, so let's read the Vincent Inscriptions. Long ago, the Sisterhood of the Knot recounted, the Forge loved the hour called the sun in splendor. The Red Grail long anticipated their union, and the Grail priestesses prophesied it. In my dreams I know the path to the White Door through the bounds, but that path is thronged with the dead who pass that way. I will need health to resist their chill. My recent work is considered significant. I may yet earn a living from this, but nothing is certain. Now, I don't know why I thought that was a good idea. The whole point was to get a contentment that I would use to blow away the dread. But of course, in 25 seconds, we're going to get hit with the season. So this was very silly of me, but well, there's a fascination. Oh dear. All right, so some Mystique. We did make our money back, so I suppose there's some good news there. No staleness. Oh, 3. All right, but yeah, highly questionable, highly questionable turn on my part. So let's let's play around a little bit with some of my options. So let's use the Sunset Rite. Dread is the most immediate concern I have right now. So Edge is the aspect of battle and of struggle. If I add Knock, I might be able to attempt a summoning. If I add Lantern or Moth, I could enact a battle in my own soul. So of course here, Reason's glory major, as above so below, reason and passion contend in the human soul. As the glory lights the darkness of the wood, this mystic discipline will transform passion to reason. So I don't really want this to succeed. We'll do a minor one here. I mean, I'm playing with fire doing this, but... Actually, hang on. Bring in Enid. Heart will give me a percussagant, and then I don't really need to worry about anything, which seems to be a much more sensible way of going about this. So, the percussagant, merciless and merry. Heart will bring it, Edge will constrain it. I'm trying to think if there's anything I want to do with the talk verb right now. I don't think it would hurt to get rid of the Mystique. Power is stronger than... Okay, we've already done that. Yeah, actually, you know what? I think I'm going to keep talking with Clovette about taking out some Mystique. Okay, Season of Ambition's coming up, which is good news for me. World as it is. Mirrors are calm, the sun is steady, the glory recedes. I'm sane if that means anything. Long delayed conclusion. Beneath the tower is a cramped cellar. Oh, well, there's a restlessness, so... That's actually... I'm going to be able to put that to use as well, so... Some dead are lost in the wood. Some rise higher, but many, so many, pass the white door into the house and become silent forever. Last night they thronged the entrance. Our mouths were healed wounds. Their eyes roamed my skin. Their hands sought my warmth, but my touch burnt and they drew back. Their urgency infected me. And we did get a vitality for my trouble. Also, the Vincent Inscriptions. The remainder of the text consists of gloating remarks by the Grail priestesses of the shaping that will come, interpolated with warnings and laments from those of the sisterhood who serve the Ringyu and especially the Horned Axe. Nevertheless, an invocation to the Forge is included as part of an attempt to urge it onwards. And there's the shaping chant. So, question right now is, do I want to do anything with the study verb in preparation for what I'm going to use that restlessness for? Not really. So I suppose we'll use the study verb to do some more translations. So the Concursum Diaries. The diaries of the explorer and murderer Lars Westergen. He's unhelpfully translated them into Frisian for privacy. So lock the study door, the work begins, and let's leave the dream slot open. I want to get a little more clarity on what kinds of troubles I'm going to run into. First, the thump, the rattle and cry of the ceremonies it attends in the wood. Now here it is, shouldering its way through the world's skin, like a clawed and ruthless uncle or a headless flapping bear. So thank you, Enid, thank you, Percussigant, thank you, Formula Vigilant, and we'll put the sunset right back. So in one set of circumstances, I actually want to take the consciousness of radiance and use that in a ritual to get rid of it. I'm not going to do that because I actually have a little bit of a deadline on some of these things. So what we're going to do instead is we're going to take our appointment at a quiet parish. We'll take Passion, we'll take the Centipede Testament, which is one of my... Actually, we'll work with that. And we don't have any fervor, so I will speak to their souls, and if they speak with conviction, their souls may answer me. So that gives us a 50-second timer on accomplishing what we want to try and do. So I'm letting this restlessness decay, because in 15 seconds we won't need to worry about the dread, but I am going to be able to get rid of at least one of the fascination through the dread. Beneath the tower is a cramped cellar with cracked slate walls. The proportions, it should be a perfect cube, but somehow there are too many corners. Blue light festers at the junction of the ceiling and wall. The floor flexes slowly, like the skin of bubble. It echoes to a stamped foot. What spaces open beneath? Bundle the books into a sack. Hurry up. The handholds to the tower stump. Hurry up the handholds to the tower stump. The sky above ripples with cobalt aurora. The hills around are washed with shutters of blue light. There's a high and singing sound from the stones of the tower as we leave. Lightning cracks from the sky, and suddenly everything is silent. The tower stump is gone. So there's the notoriety, which we were starting to do the conversations about. Again, I've got more summons than I really know what to do with. And here we've got the Twin Serpent Tantra. Bitter Black Salts, which we would use for painting. I'll put them off to the side here. We have How the End Will Begin, a book of bleak prophecy. You want to guess if you get a dread out of that one? And the Furious Tantra. So, I don't have a very strong argument for this one, but I always kind of associated Tower Revok with Nock for a couple of reasons. So there's lots of references to weird geometry and such when it comes to Nock. And, geometry contorts is one of the lines for the influences. So when you have the cube with too many... We have the cube with too many corners, and you have sort of the warping and shaping. And, the opening of the... the cobalt light obviously associate... blues, cobalt associations with the Mansis there. And the thing is that, the Mansis is not exclusive to Nock. Again, the opening, that's very clearly a Nock influence. Just the references to geometry are one that I take as a little bit of a trigger. And the fact that you do get the Twin Serpent Tantra is one that I sort of take as a signal. The problem here is that that's no more of an argument than saying that it's associated with Edge, because of course you wind up with the two Edge texts, How the End Will Begin and the Furious Tantra. But with that in mind, I still kind of, for me, whenever I think of the things that are referenced inside of that text, I, in the back of my head, always tend to have sort of associations with certain aspects. So actually, Voivode Citadel would be a good example too. Right from the very beginning, you tend to see these references to thirst and, you know, very heavy implications of vampires, which you would probably associate with Grail more than anything. And of course, when you finish that particular expedition, you have a Grail influence, and so that you can definitely associate with more of a Grail aspect. Oddly enough, for those of you that have read that article that I wrote about the sort of the networks of Cultist Simulator, the different relationships to the cards and sort of the graph that I made of them, one of the original intentions was to try and see whether or not I could identify certain locations as being affiliated with certain aspects or principles. I ultimately wound up finding a bit more of an interesting project, something that's maybe a bit larger, so I never really wound up doing that particular investigation. Maybe it'd be an interesting one to pick up at a later time. But I am trying to get a little bit better at talking about some of the things that I specifically think of when it comes to certain locations. And some of them have more clear connections than others. There's definitely some very edge and very, you know, very Grail affiliated places. Other ones are a little bit more ambiguous, and I suspect not every location is necessarily tied to a particular principle, or at least not as clearly. In fact, some of the things that you mentioned seem to have sort of allegiances or at least aspects of more than one principle. But that's maybe a conversation for another time. On that note, we will finish up. So I think some of you have a suspicion as to what I'm trying to pursue in the next. I think we'll probably get it done in the next broadcast. For those of you who don't know, maybe you can dwell on the question, how am I going to get my next lock scar? And of course, we'll leave that for a further episode. If you are enjoying the series and have not subscribed already, please consider doing so. And of course, I would always appreciate a comment. Well, I do appreciate the comments. Comments or likes do help the videos get noticed, but it's not just about what's in it for me. I do actually like reading all of your comments and replying to them as best as I can. I know I sometimes miss a couple. But until next one, I'll be back tomorrow with another episode. Please take care, and we'll see you tomorrow.